This video isn't gonna have my normal happy intro. This video is one that I necessarily did not want to make because it is such a serious topic, but I felt I had to warn other people of this individual. Now, viewer discretion before going into the video. It does have talk of suicide, it does have talk of mental illness, it does have talk of manipulation, and stuff like that. So if you can't handle it, I would suggest clicking off the video because your mental well-being is far more important than my silly video. And I would again suggest, don't fucking run into this person. Don't interact, because I've seen time and time again that he has used his power over people to simply manipulate them into doing what he wants to get sympathy from them. And that disgusts the fuck out of me. I request beforehand that you also do not harass any of the friends of Fearcrawler, any of the people who've stood by him, because simply I think these people just don't know what to do. I would request you don't even harass Fearcrawler himself, because that will give him more of the attention that he desperately wants. And please don't harass any of the people who have come forward about their experiences. Just don't harass, just ignore this person. If you don't know, YouTube and social media as a whole already has an issue with people revealing themselves in a different light and using manipulative tactics to use and abuse others. While there are plenty of genuine and good people on this site and online as a whole, there are those who are cunning and will lie to get what they want. That's when we come to Fearcrawler, a horror narrator who is in his 40s, has a kid, and has a YouTube channel of over 3,000 subscribers. Fearcrawler actually appeared on one of my live streams on my second channel where I discussed his shit between Rob Gaffigan and his outdated opinions on marijuana. While I will bring up this shit later to highlight the manipulative tactics that I experienced firsthand, I am first going to go to the testimonies of the people who were brave enough to step forward and post their experience with Fearcrawler. The first testimony I have here is from Elize, I think I said that right. If I didn't, please correct me. A horror creator and narrator on YouTube. I actually first saw her post describing an encounter she had with Fearcrawler that simply made my stomach turn. I will read out all these testimonies as well as posting them like on the sides, so try to keep up. I debated about whether or not I should say anything, but I feel I should. I see a lot of people still taking the side of Fearcrawler, and truthfully, you should not. The lovely lady narrators who have stepped forward already about his creepy behavior are not lying or making it up. The truth is, Fearcrawler is very manipulative and he actively seeks the attention of everyone, especially women. I was one of the first, and I still remember the moment I knew he was full of crap. Most of you should remember this, but in summer of 2018, Fear pulled another disappearing act. He left several cryptic messages on his now deleted Twitter account. I only found out when he sent myself and another YouTuber, mutual friend, a message stating that he loved us and he just wanted us to know that. Then I'm told on Twitter and through our mutual friend about his messages on Twitter. I actually have his phone number, and I also know the state and city he lives in. I called their police department to do a wellness check on him. By the way, I did text him and tell him that if he didn't answer my many calls and texts, I would call the police. He chose not to answer. Fast forward, the police call me back and they tell me he's okay and that they couldn't do anything because he said he wasn't suicidal and didn't know why people were worried. Then instead of calling me back, literally not one call or text back, Fearcrawler starts a live stream on YouTube, thanking everyone for being so worried about him and checking on him. Oh, and still no return phone call. This is only one of many instances, but it's one that impacted more people than just myself. Even our mutual friend believed he lied. 40-something-year-old man is sick, twisted, and needs to be exposed. He feeds off attention from women and fakes severe depression to obtain it. Stop giving it to him. Now, backstory real quick, because I don't know if people will bring it up. But I know Elize because on my live stream about the Fearcrawler and Rob Gaffigan shit, she actually did pop in. Since then, I believe we've swept it under the rug because I think it is far more important to both of us to expose Fearcrawler for the manipulative and abusive individual that he is, rather than paying attention to a few comments that she made on that stream. The next testimony I have here is by Time6. I feel like I can finally come forward with my own experiences about Fearcrawler. Before I do this though, I want to say that I am thankful for everyone brave enough to come forward and post their experiences. Mine started back in December 2018. I had just started narrating, and the horror community had welcomed me with open arms. I felt so loved and appreciated. Fearcrawler was one of the first ones to retweet my videos and follow me back. I was a small 25 subscriber channel, and having someone in the thousands follow me back was extravagant. I was soon brought into a rather massive group chat full of other creators and narrators. To those who remember it, it started off about 10 people and quickly filled to the borderline of 30 to 40, possibly more. I obviously won't be naming names merely in case they don't want to be dragged into this mess, but Fearcrawler was part of this large group chat. We all talked about silly puns and dumb memes, but when he joined, it turned to quite the sexual jokes references real fast. Uncomfortably fast. Me and a handful of friends agreed that this was getting weird, so some of them left. The remaining few of the friends noticed they kept changing the group name a bit, which is whatever, right? But what crossed the line was that Fearcrawler had changed the group name in a reference about rape being funny. That's what crossed the line, and I left the group. I soon befriended those who had left, and we became great friends. Fast forward to February of 2019, Rob Gaffigan posts a picture of weed onto his Instagram. Fearcrawler then commented on the picture and went into a long rant talking about how he would never support Rob ever again, simply because Rob enjoyed weed. To those who remember this was real dark few days in the horror community. Everyone defending one of the two and attacked everyone else. Very Twitter-like. Fearcrawler proceeded with the "woe is me, pity me, I'm quitting" card that he would eventually grow to love doing. So I DM'd him. I told him that we would all miss him if he left, and that he should simply take a mental health break and just breathe. He appreciated it, but kept threatening to quit, to hang up the mask. I started to feel like he wanted everyone to drop to their knees and tell him how much we loved and supported him. I kept him at a slight distance because it started to feel like he was enjoying the "don't leave" messages a bit too much. A few friends and I discussed and agreed it was weird. Fast forward to April 2019, Carl's Jr. posted an ad about the cannabis burger, some silly 420 advertisement. No harm, no foul. Fearcrawler went into a long rant about how Carl's Jr. had lost his business permanently. I immediately replied telling him that this was a bit much, because in my opinion, it was. The burger was only sold in areas where it was legal, it didn't hurt anyone, and who said you had to buy the stupid burger? Soon, a lot of creators came to the tweet and told him that he was being silly. Fearcrawler's immediate reaction was to unfollow all of us, and then to post hateful subtweets talking about cutting out the trash and whatnot. I knew he was straight edge from the Gaffigan drama, but he looked down upon anyone who ever mentioned drinking or smoking, which bothered me greatly. That was my final straw. I blocked him and moved on. Apparently, that was not true about him though. He had begun messaging all my friends, old and new, begging for me to give him a second chance. I finally unblocked him, and he noticed and immediately would send me DMs, but they just remained in my filtered messages. His first DM was a half-assed apology that pretty much consisted of, "Sorry, I felt I had to defend myself when everyone dogpiled on me." The dogpile was like me and 4 other creators saying, "Dude, don't be an asshole." His follow-up message was asking if we could be friends. Again, I ignored it. Another message was sent a month later, again asking if we could just talk and be friends. Again, it was ignored. In October 2019, YouTube's algorithm shined on me and my channel blew up insanely. I went from 600 subscribers to 7K in a little over 3 weeks. I bring this up because Fearcrawler messaged me again, congratulating me on the channel blowing up. But suddenly, I was getting screenshots of him subtweeting about my channel. I believe it to be about mine because it happened immediately after he messaged me. It's not fair. Channels with barely any videos shouldn't get famous. I've worked my ass off, and yet other channels with hardly any content just surpass me. He tweeted that so many times. I do believe that he could have been also subtweeting that towards several other channels. The worst part is I never felt like I could actually talk about this. Fearcrawler was friends with a lot of bigger YouTubers / narrators, and I felt who would use them against me to attack me, to force me to fend for myself against another hate mob. So I kept myself silent. I'm glad I cut ties, but damn, I regret trying to repair them a few days ago. I sent him a message thinking that I possibly had been too harsh, and then the next day, an even darker truth about him came out. I know my experience isn't as traumatizing and as sickening, but I finally feel like I can express my story as well. Thank you for reading. I'm sorry to everyone who has had such a horrible experience with him. To summarize, Fear basically had unfriended people for simply calling him out on his bias against marijuana and people who use it. Whether it be medical or not, Fear will look down on you for having any substance and act holier than thou. I think this experience demonstrates his self-righteous attitude when it comes to this, especially with marijuana. His ego was so hurt when this channel blew up, he played the "I work so hard" card, which is implying that the creator hasn't worked equally or even more hard than Fear. Now, before I go on, there is one of the original statements made by a girl named Emily. I will refrain from using her statement as she no longer wants to be tied to the situation, but because there are so many other testimonies and statements against Fear, I feel that there is a responsibility to make a video to warn people of Fear Crawler, with how he's interacted with people, how he's manipulated them into giving him sympathy. And as someone who is an abuse survivor, I feel that I need to continue. The next statement is from Lizard Queen ASMR. I'd like to preface this by saying thank you to everyone who has contacted me and told me their stories or listened to mine. I have been given unconditional support in this, and even though I feel like what's happened with me in no way compares to what others have, I think it's just because it hasn't quite hit me. So, with that being said, I had no intention of coming out with this because, like I said, I didn't think it compares to stories like Emily's or others. But new things have come to light, and I feel I should say something. Unfortunately, this is going to require me revealing something about myself that I wasn't ready to do, if I would ever be ready to do. But it needs to be explained, otherwise people might get confused. Back in November or so, Fearcrawler and I started talking in DMs after I made a funny joke on one of his tweets. And I was interested at first because he's a good-looking man, was funny, and all that good stuff. Now, I know what you're wondering. Liz, you're married. What the fuck? Yes, I am married. Happily so. But Mr. J and I are polyamorous, which means we have relationships outside of our marriage. It in no way affects us or how we feel about each other and continue to feel. Only a few other people within the community know about this because, frankly, it really isn't anyone's business and I don't need a lot of unwanted attention, more than I already get. I'm a very flirty and very sexual person on and off Twitter, but it's mostly for jokes and laughs. But with Fearcrawler, I had briefly entertained the idea of trying something with him. He was aware of the situation between me and my husband, and things progressed rather quickly in the first week. But after that, I realized I didn't quite want anything with him beyond being friends. Things took a turn not too long after that where his demeanor changed and I was completely stressed over the things he was saying because I was legitimately worried about someone I was considering a friend. But it got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I'd been dealing with my own issues in meat space and had to take a step back. Eventually, I went back to him, only speaking occasionally and nothing like what had gone on before that. Every time he did try to stray into that territory, I'd change the subject or just stop talking for my own peace of mind. I felt bad, honestly. It wasn't until I learned about the others that I began to realize how much of a manipulative tactic this turned out to be. And up until this new information that came out earlier, I would have likely kept my mouth shut despite all of that. I still considered Fearcrawler to be a good guy, if not just damaged in a really bad way. But then, all of this, and I can't anymore. It sucks. It truly fucking sucks that this happened. That I was sucked into thinking things and how far things got. I myself do not care if he comes back and tries to share anything I have sent him. Go for it. You know you cannot shame me for anything, but I promise that if that does happen, well, there's a reason I'm a queen. Oh, and don't fuck with any of the others. Trust me. I think this adds to Fear having a complete and utter lacking of responsibility when it comes to respecting other people's boundaries. He cannot do it. He will say weird fucking creepy shit to women. Now, I am going to read one more testimony before I go on to my own experience and let loose. This testimony is from someone called Rollen. I think Rollen, if I misspelled that, tell me. I've been debating on whether or not to say anything about the few interactions I've had with Fearcrawler, as I feel they truly don't compare to the shitty situations that others have had to deal with. The fact that said people have been courageous enough to speak their truth has made me realize how odd some of the things he has said to me were. Again, none of this is on the same level as other instances my fellow narrators experienced. In late August of last year, I contacted him about being part of a Halloween mega collab I was planning. During our conversation, everything was fine. I really didn't speak with Fearcrawler much until January of this year. He was following me on Instagram and would reply to my stories every so often. Usually it was compliments of some sort. At some point, he started to send video responses instead of typing them out. I didn't think much of it, but now I kind of understand why, because I can't replay them now. I don't remember what he said in each one, but I do remember one. Essentially, he was commenting on how I looked younger than my age. I had told him my age during this conversation. He made a joke about how that's why my name is Dice Rollen, because when guys message me, they're rolling the dice on whether I'm under 18 or not. I've been mistaken for being younger many times, so I didn't think much of the joke. The last messages from Fearcrawler were him commenting on how he thought my ability to dislocate my arm from my shoulder was hot. He then told me he liked some weird things. All of this I shrugged off, but like I said, now that things have come to light, it raised some red flags for me that I should have noticed before. I want to thank everyone who's come forward to tell their experiences with Fearcrawler. It takes a lot of bravery, and I'm sorry that any of you went through what he put you through. Now, I think this is a good segue into how Fearcrawler does treat women who are minors. At the time of the drama with Rob, I was 17. I had mentioned that several times that I was a minor and that I had social anxiety as well as having sensory processing disorder. So one of the things that helps me is to stream and make videos to get my thoughts out, unless it just rattles in my brain and I can't get it out. And I had a lot of thoughts on the Fearcrawler situation with Rob. Fear made many claims, such as marijuana having the same pain relief effect as over-the-counter aspirin. Newsflash, it doesn't. As well as it being used as an appetite increaser, which also it isn't used for. But I won't be talking about his ill-informed assumptions to push a anti-marijuana agenda, even though they're incredibly wrong and have been proven to be wrong multiple times. But I'm going to talk about what caught me off guard. The way he had talked over me, shut me down, and when I got frustrated because he wouldn't let me continue to talk on my own stream, how he established that I was the one that needed to calm down.
Crawler person, it's nice to meet you.
He's
Likewise.
actually pretty chill. It was just the situation that kind of got fucked up.
I even had mentioned how I thought Fear was a chill guy, that I had no previous issues with him because in all honesty, I was never close to Fear. I never saw him as a friend or a colleague or even a peer. He was just there. I had spoken to him a handful of times on streams, and that was really it. And, well, this was really my first time interacting with Fear one-on-one on my stream.
Speak my piece?
Yeah.
I think I've already spoken my mind.
Okay, well...
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and I, again...
Wouldn't you agree that we came to some common ground on Twitter earlier today?
Yeah. No, I just...
Now, my question for you, and I'll toss this out, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I mean, you're familiar with Beside the Dying Fire?
Yeah, I'm the...
Well, he's a very good friend of mine, and we met through Markbot about a year and a half ago. Now, yesterday he did a 35-minute stream on this same topic. Now, he didn't name names, he didn't take sides, he spoke extremely objectively. He closed it with, "No one here is a victim, and things could have been handled better on both sides." I messaged him back, and I mirrored his exact same statement.
Okay, and I agree. I don't think anyone here is a victim or the attacker. I was pointing out that both sides were acting irresponsibly.
I will agree.
His response had honestly hit me like a ton of bricks. Because, while yes, I had publicly talked on Twitter calling him out and reaching a common ground with him, that did not negate the fact that I could stream and talk about what I wanted. And from the first interaction, you can tell how he was cutting me off and he was talking over me, which also gave me anxiety, which I suspect that he knew.
It's been bouncing around my brain And if I don't speak the shit, it doesn't get out of my brain.
I don't doubt that. But again, I mean, I reiterate an earlier point in which I asked if the stream was 100% necessary, and 2, I guess what I would question is that I look at the title of the stream here, which I see my channel name in there. I see Slumbers. I don't
made me more angry about
I don't see the names of the other people involved.
Fear, the reason no one else was mentioned in the video title was because I only saw you, Rob, and Slumber's responses because they were the ones that were on my feed. But again, I had every right to stream. I let you on as a guest, and you talked over me, cutting me off repeatedly and purposely using my social anxiety against me, knowing that I wouldn't dare speak up again if you had constantly put me down. Now, I won't go into every little bit of the stream because frankly, the stream was over 2 hours long. If anyone wants to watch the full thing, I will link it, but I'll insert this last clip.
Can I explain my view on marijuana, the effects I've seen personally from it? Because I've seen it used on not only, like I said, Chris uses it for his mental issues. I'm going to get a prescription for my mental issues because from what I've been told by my therapist, Xanax and Zoloft won't work for me personally. But, you know, I've also seen it with my mom, and my grandfather had it for a little bit. Because my grandfather also had issues, and my mom also has issues, and she might possibly have cancer. So when I've seen it, I've never seen it as been used as substance abuse, because most people, by the time they smoke that much, they're passed out. And I have also friends who are stoners, and I've never really seen it as something really of a big deal because most people do not use it as a thing to overdose. Nobody uses marijuana to overdose. I have not seen it abused. I've seen people abusing joints, which have tobacco in it, which usually leads to them also smoking cigarettes. But again, I've never seen anyone abuse marijuana, and I also thought it, in my opinion, it seemed weird that you were saying something about Rob posting a picture of marijuana, but I am.
And again, if you go back to my comment was that I just didn't need to see it in my feeds.
Right, but I mean,
I didn't ask him to take it down. I didn't say you have no right to post it. I said I didn't need to see it in my feeds. Feeds being plural. I didn't say I didn't need to see it on his channel. I said my feeds.
I think my explanation is a fine one. This was back when my family was concerned that my mother had thyroid cancer because the doctors had found a tumor on her thyroid. Thank God she doesn't have cancer from our knowledge. I think they said it was a benign tumor. I'm pretty sure that means that it isn't cancerous. But my mom is still chronically ill. She still has Hashimoto's disease. She still has Sjogren's. She has a lot of joint pains. My mom is still very sick. So she uses THC specifically with her nerve pains and her insomnia because her pains will keep her up and she can't sleep. With THC, she has been able to sleep through the night and all this stuff because of it. My grandfather also used it, as I had mentioned. He just didn't use it for necessarily the same reasons or when it was legal. And I currently use THC myself for my insomnia, my chronic back pains, and all that stuff. When I've used it, it's always helped me. I try to use it as responsibly as I can. And I felt personally offended to be told the effects of marijuana from a person's point of view who has never tried it, and to basically talk down on me because I have not only family who has used it, and at the time talking about getting a prescription, but I also had a partner at the time who also used it for their PTSD and other mental issues. As I was explaining the impact THC has personally had not only on my partner but my mother, he basically threw it off and went into his entitlement mode on how he didn't need to see Rob's picture. But I have to bring something else up. There is a comment, and nobody brought this up, but Dark Khan did in my comments. He had commented saying, why was it that 40 minutes in and nobody had told Fear to just mute Rob Dyke if he didn't like the stuff that Rob was saying? And I have to agree. Why didn't you mute Rob? Why didn't you just fuck off? It's because Fear likes the attention. He wants you to feel sympathy. He wanted Rob to respond because if Rob responded, he could claim how a bigger channel was attacking him. Fearcrawler shows a pattern of self-entitlement, an ego that would crush Donald fucking Trump's, and inappropriate behavior with women, and especially women he finds to be younger than him. This is a warning to the horror community and the YouTube community as a whole. If Fear comes back, stay the fuck away from him. Well, that was a lengthy video from Faye. I do apologize, but I felt again that this video needed to be made. I felt I needed to comment on my experience from over a year ago with Fearcrawler, because with the stories coming out, it did make me kind of realize I had already had an idea at that time that there were these kind of off ways that he was talking to me. I remember Chris had been commenting on it, and actually Chris was going to do a video a while ago, but it didn't really work out. We had mentioned this time and time again that it was a very odd experience to have Fear talk to not only someone who was old enough to be his fucking daughter that way, but just the way he talked to me as a whole was very off-putting. It was very shameful because, again, I supported marijuana. I support the legalization of it. And I just thought his reaction was biased. It was unfounded. It was almost back to Reagan era. He reminds me of that one quote that Reagan said of marijuana being the most deadly drug or most dangerous drug, because Fear does not understand how marijuana works. And again, I did feel personally attacked because I have seen the effects it has not only on people I've cared about very, very fucking deeply, but my own family, and now I have my own experience. And while I can sit here and say all that, he is not going to listen. And I think he is a danger to the horror community. If you still support Fear after this, after all the statements, after my own evidence, my own proof, my 2-hour-long proof of him belittling me, shaming me, talking over me, as someone who's old enough to be the man's fucking daughter, then I don't know what else to tell you. I can't sit here and beg you and insist that you unfollow and cancel, I guess, this man. But I am going to say that you need to reevaluate how you perceive this man. Don't forget, my charity campaign for the National Civil Rights Museum is still up in honor of Black History Month. 100% of all the profit is going to the National Civil Rights Museum. If you are interested, please check out my TeeSpring. The Black History Month designs will be available until March 6th. If you are not interested in those, wait until after that, because I will have designs that will be going to domestic shelters in honor of the National Women's Month, which is a thing. So I am going to be donating to domestic survivors shelters next month. Those designs will be up soon. I will also release what they look like so that you kind of have an idea. If you're interested in anything, if you want to pre-order anything, you can always contact me and I can always do that. If you also pre-order, there will be a discount, but you just have to DM me. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That would make my day. If you have any thoughts, like your experiences with Fearcrawler, if you wanted anything to be added to this, if you still support him, like, why do you? Can you explain to me? What do you think about these statements? All that stuff, please tell me. I want a better understanding. And if you like my content, go ahead and subscribe. That would also make my day. And as always, let's try to help make the world just a little less shittier. I'll see you all next time.